Suddenly, Tiger Claw stood up and stalked over to Ravenpaw. Spotted Leaf was crouching beside Tiger Claw's wounded apprentice, using her teeth and front paws to press wads of cobweb onto his shoulder wound. Firepaw leaned toward Graypaw and asked, "What's Spotted Leaf doing?" "Stopping the bleeding. It looks like a nasty cut, and Ravenpaw seemed really shaken up. He's always been a bit jumpy, but I've never seen him this bad before. Let's go and see if he's woken up yet." They made their way through the grieving cats toward the spot where Ravenpaw lay, and settled themselves a respectful distance away to wait until Tiger Claw had finished speaking. "So, Spotted Leaf." Tiger Claw addressed the tortoiseshell with a confident meow. "How is he? Do you think you can save him? I spent a lot of time training him up, and I don't want my efforts to be wasted at the first battle." Spotted Leaf didn't look up from her patient as she replied, "Yes, a pity if after all your valuable training he dies in his first fight, huh?" Firepaw could hear the teasing purr in her soft voice. "Will he live?" Tiger Claw demanded. "Of course. He just needs to rest." Tiger Claw snorted and looked down at the motionless black shape. He jabbed Ravenpaw with one of his front claws. "Come on, then. Get up." Ravenpaw didn't move. "Look at the length of that claw," Firepaw hissed. "Too right," replied Graypaw with feeling. "I know I wouldn't want to get into a fight with him." "Not so fast, Tiger Claw." Spotted Leaf placed her paw over Tiger Claw's sharp talon and gently moved it away. "This apprentice needs to keep as still as possible until the cut has healed. We don't want him opening his wound by jumping about trying to please you. Leave him alone." Firepaw found himself holding his breath as he waited for Tiger Claw's reaction. He guessed that few cats dared to give orders to a warrior like that. The big tabby stiffened and seemed about to speak when Spotted Leaf mewed teasingly, "Even you know better than to argue with a medicine cat, Tiger Claw." Tiger Claw's eyes flashed at the little tortoiseshell's words. "I wouldn't dare to argue with you, dear Spotted Leaf," he purred. He turned to leave and caught sight of Graypaw and Firepaw. "Who's this?" he asked Graypaw, towering above them. "He's the new apprentice," Graypaw mewed. "He smells like a kitty pet," snorted the warrior. "I was a house cat," Firepaw meowed boldly, "but I'm going to train to be a warrior." Tiger Claw looked at him with a sudden interest. Yes. Now I remember. Blue Star mentioned that she had stumbled across some stray kitty pet. So, she's actually going to try you out, is she?" Firepaw sat up very straight, anxious to impress this distinguished clan warrior. "That's right," he mewed respectfully. Tiger Claw eyed him thoughtfully. "Then I shall watch your progress with interest." Firepaw puffed his chest out proudly as Tiger Claw stalked away. "Do you think he liked me?" "I don't think Tiger Claw likes any apprentices," whispered Graypaw. Just then, Ravenpaw stirred and twitched his ears. "Has he gone?" he mumbled. "Who, Tiger Claw?" replied Graypaw, trotting toward him. "Yep, he's gone." "Hi there," Firepaw began, about to introduce himself. "Go away, both of you," Spotted Leaf protested. "How am I meant to help this cat with all these interruptions?" She impatiently flicked her tail at Graypaw and Firepaw and pushed her way between them and her patient. Firepaw realized she was serious, despite the lively glimmer in her warm amber eyes. "Come on, Firepaw," mewed Graypaw. "I'll show you around. See you later, Ravenpaw." The two cats left Spotted Leaf with Ravenpaw and walked across the clearing. Graypaw looked thoughtful. He was clearly taking his duties as a guide very seriously. "You know the high rock already," he began, flicking his tail toward the big, smooth rock. "Blue Star always addresses the clan from there. Her den is down there." He lifted his nose toward a hollow in the side of the high rock. "Her den was carved out many moons ago by an ancient stream. Hanging lichen draped the entrance, sheltering the leader's nest from wind and rain. The warriors sleep over here," Graypaw went on. Firepaw followed him to a large bush a few paces away from the high rock. There was a clear view from here right down to the gorse entrance into the camp. The branches of the bush hung low, but Firepaw could see a sheltered space inside where the warriors made their nests. "The senior warriors sleep nearest the center, where it's warmest," exclaimed Greypaw. "They usually share their fresh kill together over by that clump of nettles. The younger warriors eat nearby. Sometimes they're invited to join the senior warriors for eating, which is a big honor." "What about the other clan cats?" Firepaw asked, fascinated but feeling rather overwhelmed by all the traditions and rituals of clan life. "Well, the queens share warrior quarters when they work as warriors, but when they're expecting kits or nursing them, they stay in a nest area over the nursery. The elders have their own place on the other side of the clearing. Come on, I'll show you." Firepaw trotted after Greypaw across the clearing and past the shadowy corner where Spotted Leaf had her den. They stopped beside a fallen tree that sheltered a patch of lush grass. Crouched among the soft greenery were 4 elderly cats tucking into a plump young rabbit. "Dustpaw and Sandpaw would have brought them that," whispered Greypaw. "One of the apprentice's duties is catching fresh kill for the elders." "Hello, youngster," one of the elders greeted Greypaw. "Hello, Small Ear," replied Greypaw, nodding respectfully. "This must be our new apprentice. Firepaw, isn't it?" meowed a second Tom. His patchy fur was dark brown, and there was only a stump where his tail should have been. "That's right," Firepaw replied, copying Greypaw's polite nod. "I'm Halftail," purred the brown Tom. "Welcome to the clan." "Have you two eaten?" meowed Small Ear. Firepaw and Greypaw both shook their heads. "Well, there's enough here. Dustpaw and Sandpaw are turning into fine hunters. Would you mind if these youngsters shared a mouse, One Eye?" The pale gray queen who lay beside him shook her head. Firepaw noticed one of her eyes was clouded and sightless. "What about you, Dappletail?" The other elder, a tortoise-shell she-cat with a gray muzzle, meowed in a voice cracking with age. "Of course not." "Thank you," meowed Greypaw eagerly. He stepped forward and took a large mouse from the pile of prey, then dropped it at Firepaw's feet. "You still haven't tasted mouse?" he asked. "No," Firepaw admitted. He suddenly felt very excited by the warm smells that were rising from this piece of fresh kill. His whole body quivered at the thought of sharing his first real food as a clan member. "In that case, you can have the first bite. Just save me some." Greypaw dipped his head and stood back to give Firepaw room. Firepaw crouched down and took a large bite from the mouse. It was juicy and tender and sang with the flavors of the forest. "What do you think?" asked Greypaw. "Fantastic," mumbled Firepaw, his mouth still full. "Well, move over, then," mewed Greypaw, stepping forward and bending his head to take a bite. As the two apprentices shared the mouse, they listened to the elders talk among themselves. "How long before Blue Star appoints a new deputy?" asked Small Ear. "What did you say, Small Ear?" mewed One Eye. "I think your hearing has become as poor as your eyesight," snapped Small Ear impatiently. "I said, how long before Blue Star appoints a new deputy?" One Eye ignored Small Ear's irritated reply and spoke instead to the tortoiseshell queen. "Dappletail, do you remember the day many moons ago when Blue Star herself was appointed deputy?" Dappletail mewed earnestly. "Oh, yes. It was not long after she had lost her kits." "She'll not be happy to be appointing a new deputy," Small Ear observed. "Redtail served her long and well, but she'll need to make up her mind quickly. According to clan custom, the choice has to be made before Moon High after the death of the old deputy." "At least this time the choice is obvious," meowed Halftail. Firepaw raised his head and looked around the clearing. Who could Halftail mean? To Firepaw, all the warriors looked worthy of becoming deputy. Perhaps he meant Tigerclaw. After all, he had avenged Redtail's death. Tigerclaw was sitting not far off, his ears angled toward the elders' conversation. As Firepaw stretched with his tongue to lick the last traces of mouse from his whiskers, Blue Star's voice called out from the high rock. Redtail's body still lay in the clearing below, pale gray in the fading light. "A new deputy must be appointed," she meowed. "But first, let us give thanks to StarClan for the life of Redtail. Tonight he sits with his fellow warriors among the stars." Silence fell as all the cats looked up into the sky, which was beginning to darken as evening crept over the forest. "And now I shall name ThunderClan's new deputy," Blue Star continued. "I say these words before the body of Redtail so that his spirit may hear and approve my choice." Firepaw looked at Tigerclaw. He couldn't help noticing the hunger in the warrior's big amber eyes as he stared up at the high rock. "Lionheart," meowed Bluestar, "will be the new deputy of ThunderClan." Firepaw was curious to see Tigerclaw's reaction, but the Dark Warrior's face revealed nothing as he moved to congratulate Lionheart with a nudge so hearty that it almost pushed the golden tabby off balance. "Why didn't she make Tigerclaw deputy?" Firepaw whispered to Greypaw. "Probably because Lionheart has been a warrior longer, so he has a lot more experience," Greypaw murmured back, still looking up at Bluestar. Bluestar spoke again. "Redtail was also a mentor to young Dustpaw. Since there must be no delay in the training of our apprentices, I shall appoint Dustpaw as new mentor immediately. Darkstripe, you are ready for your first apprentice, and you will continue Dustpaw's training. You had a fine mentor in Tigerclaw, and I expect you to pass on some of the excellent skills that you were taught." The tabby warrior swelled with pride as he showed his acceptance with a solemn nod. He strode over to Dustpaw, bent his head, and rather awkwardly touched noses with his new apprentice. Dustpaw flicked his tail respectfully, but his eyes were still dull with grief for his lost mentor. Bluestar raised her voice. "I shall keep vigil with Redtail's body tonight before we bury him at sunrise." She jumped down from the high rock and walked over to lie beside Redtail's body once more. Many of the other cats joined her, Dustpaw and Smallier among them. "Should we sit with them too?" Firepaw suggested. He had to admit the idea didn't appeal to him much. It had been a busy day and he was beginning to feel tired. All he wanted to do was find somewhere warm and dry to curl up and sleep. Greypaw shook his head. "Now, only those who are closest to Redtail will share his final night. I'll show you where we sleep. The apprentice's den is over here." Firepaw followed Greypaw to a thick bush of ferns that lay behind a mossy tree stump. "All the apprentices share their fresh kill by this stump," Greypaw told him. "How many apprentices are there?" Firepaw asked. "Not as many as usual. Just me, you, Ravenpaw, Dustpaw, and Sandpaw." As Greypaw and Firepaw settled themselves beside the tree stump, a young she-cat crawled out from beneath the ferns. Her coat was ginger like Firepaw's, but much paler, with barely visible stripes of dark fur. "So here comes the new apprentice," she meowed, narrowing her eyes. "Hello," Firepaw mewed. The young cat sniffed rudely. "He smells like a kitty pet. Don't tell me I'm going to have to share my nest with that revolting stench." Firepaw felt rather taken aback. Since his fight with Longtail, all the cats had been quite friendly. Maybe they had just been distracted by Ravenpaw's news, he thought. "You'll have to excuse Sandpaw," apologized Greypaw. "I think she must have a furball stuck somewhere. She's not usually this bad-tempered." "Psst," spat Sandpaw crossly. "Hold on, youngsters." The deep voice of Whitestorm sounded behind the apprentices. "Sandpaw, as my apprentice, I expected you to be a little more welcoming to this newcomer." Sandpaw held up her head and looked defiant. "I'm sorry, Whitestorm," she purred, not sounding sorry at all. "I just didn't expect to be training with a kitty pet, that's all." "I'm sure you'll get used to it, Sandpaw," meowed Whitestorm calmly. "Now, it's getting late and training starts early tomorrow. You three should get some sleep." He gave Sandpaw a stern look, and she nodded obediently. As he walked off, she spun around and vanished into the clump of ferns, sniffing once more as she brushed past Firepaw. With a flick of his tail, Greypaw invited Firepaw to follow him and led the way after Sandpaw. Inside the sleeping area, the ground was lined with soft moss, and the pale moonlight turned everything a delicate shade of green. The air was fragrant with fern scent and warmer than outside. "Where do I sleep?" Firepaw asked. "Anywhere, just so long as it's not near me," snarled Paw, who was prodding some moss with her paw. Greypaw and Firepaw exchanged glances, but said nothing. Firepaw raked together a pile of moss with his claws. When he had gathered his bed into a cozy nest, he circled until it was comfortable and settled down. His whole body felt drowsy with contentment. This was his home now. He was a member of ThunderClan.